No question that God created the world.
Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we're doing part 2 of a Christian response to evolution, a reaction series that I started on Matt Powell. You can check out the first one. This is the second one. And we're gonna stop whenever I can't take it anymore. I don't think I actually have a plan of where exactly to stop.
By accident. It's ridiculous. We believe in the creation model that life started on the land, but they will say that life began in the water or in the oceans. And in this Inside Science article, they say the first hefty organic molecules may have formed within tiny droplets. So what they're trying to say is that the first molecules that eventually formed into life were coming together inside of water. So follow this with me. They say that pretty much all of these guys agree that in some way the creation of life involved water. But if you were to type in on the internet, how does DNA get destroyed? The very first thing that pops up is this. It says DNA is vulnerable. It breaks down in sunlight and in water. They would have us believe that the RNA world where life came from non-life was in a soup, in water. Well, water destroys biology. It destroys organic molecules. So to
I've always heard like water is the source of life. You need water to sustain life, you need water to build up life in a sense. We're pretty much liquid ourselves. But whatever you say, man.
assert that life began in the water or in the oceans when it was raining for 2 million years is ludicrous. That's false.
It's not just an assertion. These are claims based on things we already find, things we can pretty much explain. There's some O's in abiogenesis. They don't know everything about how life started, but they're giving educational guess based on what we know. It's not like they know everything about how it actually happened. They weren't there. But clearly, I'd rather follow someone that actually has that coming to a conclusion based on fact than just saying God did it when you don't have any evidence of that.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. When detectives do forensic work, they can actually
People, Christians quoting the Bible does not mean anything to atheists or scientists in general. Like they don't get their scientific knowledge from the Bible. Nobody do that. Nobody does science like that. Even the Lennox, or I don't even think Lennox is a scientist, is a mathematician. Even I don't know any scientist that's a Christian. They don't get their knowledge or scientific knowledge from the Bible. They don't like that's not how that works. Like that's not what they do. They don't say I'm studying biology and look at creationists. No, they study things with evidence backing it. That's what they have to do. That's how they actually do science. I mean, they have their own personal belief in God and all that, but they don't look at the Bible to do what they do.
look at somebody that died in fire versus water, and they can trace the DNA molecules of somebody that died in fire easier than it is for tracing them in a situation where somebody died in water. And so what that means is water scatters DNA faster than fire does. And so what that tells us is that this abiogenesis process of life coming from non-life in soup is more likely to happen in a grill at 1,000 degrees Celsius than in water. The
No, you don't get that from what you just said. That doesn't make any sense.
Bible tells us that the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So life...
So, where's the evidence of any of this actually happening? How did you come to this conclusion? Is it just through the Bible? Yes, it literally is. Did you just believe this because you were taught this as a young person, or you were converted to this religion? The answer is also just yes. There's no scientific base for this. We don't see this. There's no evidence of this.
obviously began on the land. It didn't begin in the water. But if you were to type in where did life
Obviously, right?
come from? This is the origin story that they're given. It says that experiments suggest that organic molecules could have been synthesized in the atmosphere of early Earth and rained down into the oceans. That is ludicrous. That is false. That is not true. God created life. And even if you had all of the elements for life together in some sort of soup, the soup is just going to scatter the elements. It's not going to assemble them. And even if you had a single cell,
Where's it getting soup from? What kind of soup is it? And I'm just trying to make a joke. Like, where's it getting the soup from? What do you mean by soup?
organism that somehow magically was created out of this soupy mess, what's it going to eat? There's no other biology around. There's no other organic material. What's it going to eat? Hard rock? Think about this. There is
Yeah, we're thinking about this, and you're not thinking at all. The alternative that you're giving us is God did it. You haven't proved that God did it. The way you're saying God did it, we know that actually did not happen, creating man from dust. And yeah, we're talking about abiogenesis here. Abiogenesis, not actually evolution. Yeah, there are things that we don't know about it, but there are evidence backing up what they're trying to claim. And the things that we don't know about it, there are hypotheses out there about it, trying to see if it makes sense and trying to find research to support it. But God did it, there's no evidence of that. And whether you like it or not, evolution is a fact. In a sense, a fact. It has factual evidence backing its claims. It's not just a normal day theory, it's a scientific theory. So we know God did not create man from dust. We evolved. Like, that's the alternative you're presenting.
There's nothing for it. It just is going to come alive, and then it's got to find another organism to reproduce with. The unanswered questions will remain.
There are days that they reproduce without finding an organism other than themselves to reproduce with. It's like self-replication in a sense.
Remain unanswered by the evolutionist and atheist community on this matter because they're
Bro, again, there's a difference between abiogenesis and evolution.
not actually looking at things with a scientific lens. They're looking at it with an emotional lens because they don't want to answer to God and they don't want to admit that
Oh, it just keeps getting worse. It just keep getting worse. The classic, they don't want to listen to God. The classic, oh, they just want to sin. They just want to have lust and be having sex with whoever they want. The classic, they just want to, vent their anger and be mad at God and do all this amazing thing that we are jealous of, but we'll never say we're jealous of. The classic, they just want to BS around. Like, just stop. You're saying this is a case for God, a case for creationism, for creationists and their view, their dumb view. This is supposed to be a case for them. They shouldn't be having any straw men. They shouldn't be having terrible, shitty ass arguments like they just want to sin. But then I had no hope. My expectation wasn't high to begin with. So the little that I had, when I click on the video that says a case for creationist, it just now it's in the negatives. Actually, it was always in the negatives. It's just going deeper. This is not a case. You're just saying, oh, they don't want to believe because, oh, obviously they don't want to follow the God that I serve. What about people that already believe in creationism and follow a different God? I guess they don't want to follow your God? What if their God is even more strict than yours? It's dumb.
creationism is so strong and it has a very powerful model that supports it in the scientific community, and they don't want to give it any credence.
which scientific community? What credence? What credential do you? You don't have any credentials. You're like a fly herder. No credentials, people. None.
At all. They're afraid of creationism. They can laugh at it, they can mock it, they can fulfill what the Bible says that they would do, which is be scoffers of the last days that scoff and mock the Bible. And as Christians and creationists, we would claim that life was designed by God. And according to evolution, life was eroded from rocks. So not only did life come alive in soup, supposedly that soup originated from rocks getting rained on, and then those minerals were eroded from the rocks, which caused life to somehow spark into existence. And if you were to type in, "you owe your life to a rock," it brings up a paper called "You Owe Your Life."
Again, this is just an entire idea of like trying to make fun of it, to be like belittle it and say, "Oh yeah, this doesn't make sense," and then 2 seconds you turn it back to say God did some magic, and voila, you get the universe from nothing. Okay. You're giving us. You're trying to make belittle a scientific research, trying to belittle evolution, trying to belittle everything the scientists discover about how we got here so far. And what you're presenting as an alternative is a magic trick by a being that we have no proof of its existence. Are you hearing yourself?
Life to rock. And the way that this paper starts out is hilarious. It says, "Thank goodness for granite." Those are the first words of the paper. It talks about how granite rock is our ancestor. Remember the rock that we covered earlier that can't be created on purpose, somehow created itself by accident, and then somehow conceived life. Now, of course,
It's a rock filled with minerals, and I believe it came from outer space. And that's how the idea that it came from the sky, even though it's just outer space, it in the earth and forming minerals in the ocean, which formed life. This was billions of years ago. Like, this wasn't just like yesterday. This was billions of years ago. And the alternative that you're presenting is that God did it. And you have no evidence of any of that. Like,
of course, they want to mock the virgin birth, but to say that
the Bible actually never said that it was a virgin birth. The Isaiah story that they want to nicely quote, oh, it says virgin. No, it actually never indicated virgin. In the New Testament, some of them never indicate that Mary was a virgin. That was an idea, I believe, indicated by Paul and probably John too, because John was on the supernatural spectrum. He wants Jesus to be literally God.
granite rock conceived life, granite rock isn't even living to begin with. At least Mary was alive when she conceived of the Holy Spirit. That's pretty.
And that's pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable, by the way. That a human can have sex with the Holy Spirit, which is also God. So, no consent because, no consent in the matter, because how can you consent to your Creator? Like, are you saying have sex with me, God? Like, how does that work? So God raped a woman, in your opinion, a virgin, even though the text never indicates so. God raped a virgin that's a human and brought up the person that's gonna have salvation to the world. And as I mentioned, it's in the middle of nowhere, and your entire story does not make any fucking sense. Ugh. This is an headache.
Hilarious. I mean, they think that non-life brought life into existence, that unconsciousness brought conscious, sentient material into existence.
And you have an imaginary friend that you believe you can have a conversation with, but you can't prove that you ever have a conversation. It is all in your head. It's called delusion.
That nothing somehow created something. It gets more and more and more insane the more that you look into what atheists and evolutionists actually believe. I heard somebody say one time that it's unbelievable what unbelievers will believe to remain unbelievers, and I feel like that is actually kind of true. It really is unbelievable. We're entering into the
No, actually, I guess I need to make a new quote or an interesting quote. It is unimaginable how much bending theists in general have to do to try to make sense of the religious text, to try to make sense of the delusion. It is unimaginable. Bro, they will bend over, backward, crack their bones to try to make sense of something that is clearly just bullshit. It's crazy. Oh, but if you just interpret the text this way, it says the earth is actually round. If you interpret it this way, it says it's flat. But you just ignore that part. Ignore the part that the person that actually wrote the text during their time, actually believed the earth is flat. No, if you interpret it a little bit, you just diverse it this way. God created everything. That's the perfect answer for every situation that you can ever be in. How much bending, how much bone breaking they have to do to try to make sense of shit. It is stupid.
twilight zone. Stay tuned. And this paper also says that rocks and minerals must have played key roles in virtually every phase of life's emergence. Check this out. It says rare meteorite that fell on a UK driveway may contain ingredients for life. And so in this paper, you can see what they're insinuating. They're insinuating that life ultimately came from a rock. That is what they believe. And that's hard to defend that position, that you came.
But God made man from dust of the ground, and they just breathed into them, and all of a sudden, humans.
From a rock. I can't imagine having to be an atheist and defend this stuff.
No, people, if you're an atheist, you don't have to defend any other stuff. You don't even have to do this. This is not your job. You're not a scientist. You don't have to do that. Being an atheist doesn't mean you actually have to have the answer to any of this stuff. It's a question. It's an answer to one question: do you believe God exists? And you can give an answer. I don't have the knowledge of whether God exists. I don't know whether God exists, but I do not believe in a God. A lack of belief, however you want to put it. I do not believe a God exists. Agnostic atheists or people that are strongly atheist, anti-atheist. If an atheist, you don't have to be the genius and be a walking textbook explaining to people and teaching them the things that are factual. It is not your job to be the teacher of these people, to be their parent. Because let's face it, this guy is childish as hell. You're actually not bringing on arguments. All you're doing is just trying to make fun of things that are factual. Things that are actual, have evidence backing their claims. It is childish. But then again, we atheists are the childish one for playing video games. At least some of us. We're childish for having fun. It's stupid.
And if you look at this paper, it says that the ingredients for life in space rocks that fell to the Earth, and it talks about how these rocks contained liquid water. And so again, they're trying to insinuate that life was created from water that eroded minerals out of rocks. And to the scientifically illiterate atheist, he or she will just eat this right up. They'll think it's just, oh, this is incredible. This is great knowledge. As Christians, we're supposed to be free thinkers, and we're supposed to be skeptical of demonstrated lies like these ones that we're looking at. And in creation,
And so here's where here's where we stop this amazing series. We're gonna stop this for a while, and then we're gonna pick it back up. I will stop here for today. My goodness, this is insanity. Just because you don't get it, just because you're trying to make fun of it, doesn't mean it actually did not happen. Doesn't mean there actually not factual evidence backing these claims. Doesn't mean scientists are dumb. It just says a lot more about you than everybody else. There is no compare and comparison. This one that fact and this one that clearly fiction. God created the world, life started on the land, life designed by God. This is all fiction. It's all in your head, having this personal relationship with this divine being. It is all in your head. Atheists don't have to be a walking dictionary. We don't have to have the answer to everything. It's just an answer to one question. Do you believe a God exists? And you give your answer, however you want to put that answer. But it doesn't say whether you like ice cream, whether you like ice cream or which kind of flavor you like. It doesn't indicate any of that. That's all I have for you today. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and have a great day, people.